Now, we talked about why input is so important, but how does this work? Like, what are the underlying mechanisms for input to take place? Now, let's dig deeper and explore some of the concepts when it comes to input. The first is Krashen's theory on acquisition and learning. He termed it the acquisition-learning hypothesis. So basically, he is saying that there are two systems involved with language learning. One is acquisition. Acquisition is a process similar, if not identical, to the way children develop ability in their first language. Language acquisition is a subconscious process. We're generally not consciously aware of rules of the language we have acquired. Instead, we have a feel for correctness. Grammatical sentences sound right or feel right, and errors feel wrong, even if we do not consciously know the rules we violated. The second way to develop competence in a second language is by language learning, right? So he contrasted acquisition and learning, these two processes. And with languages that you have acquired, you may not even know the rules that you have learned, yet you're able to identify, that sentence is right, that sentence sounds off. Krashen says that some language features are simply acquired, picked up unconsciously. We do that as children. But the second system is learning, right? Language learning is more deliberate, more explicit. And finally, Krashen also framed it as the input hypothesis. Krashen says that L2s, that is second languages, are acquired by understanding messages or by receiving comprehensible input. That is things you listen or things you read that you can understand, right? Comprehensible input. Krashen defined comprehensible input in a particular way. Essentially, comprehensible input is that bit of language that is heard or read and that is slightly ahead of a learner's current state of grammatical knowledge. Krashen defined a learner's current state of knowledge as I, and the next stage as I plus 1. So if your current level is something like HSK 4, then that HSK 4 level is your I, and you want to aim for I plus 1. That is something that's just above your level, right? So according to Krashen's input hypothesis, this kind of input, when you listen to or read text that is slightly above your level, then this is when language acquisition occurs. Theoretically, right? This is a theory. It's not been entirely proven. Why do we have to practice reading and listening at the right level? Here is what the Foreign Services Institute said. The importance of promoting automaticity is true for reading as well as speaking. Adults need to read considerable amounts of easy material in order to build up stamina and to automatize processing skills. Without some degree of automatic processing capability, reading becomes a painful decoding process, leaving the reader with little cognitive energy available for understanding and interpretation. If you don't read a lot of easy material, you're constantly looking at hard material, then you're not processing as much text as you could, right? If you're reading a lot of easy stories, easy materials, then you can read these easy things over and over, and eventually you build up automatic processing abilities. Then you're not like looking at Chinese characters and decoding it all the time, but you're just glancing at it and you're able to just read very quickly and smoothly, right? That's why you should start with easy material that's right at your level. Otherwise, you're constantly bombarded with new words and you're just not able to build up this kind of automaticity, right? So this is what the FSI is suggesting us to do. For example, here is a reading passage. Let's see how good your Chinese reading is. This is annotated with Language Player, the app that I developed. And by the way, with Language Player now, you're able to show pinyin just for the hard words. For example, over here, this is a text that's at HSK 7 to 9, right? This is the highest level of Chinese. And only the text that is really difficult is labeled here according to the level. Right, so let's see. 蛙溪井中，日复一日仰望天穹，所见不过尺幅之蓝。遂妄自尊大，自诩洞察世间万象，对外界之事非但无知，且固执己见，视意见为妄言。Right? How much do you understand? How much do you understand that? It's not easy, right? How about this? So this is a HSK 6 level text. The same thing. I just asked ChatGPT to generate this text at different levels. And now let's see what this sounds like. 井中有蛙. Okay, that's already a little bit easier than 蛙溪井中, right? So you don't have to process this new word. 井中有蛙，终日仰望井口之天，所见者不过方寸之间。蛙自鸣得意，逢人便夸，此处水质清澈，居所安稳，人生如此，夫复何求? Right? So this is already a lot easier than the first. Now let's take a look at the HSK 4 level. This is much simpler. It says 从前有一只青蛙. Okay, now this is much simpler, right? 住在一口深井里，他每天看着井口那一小片天空，觉得世界就是那么大。他对井边经过的鸟儿说：“你看看我这井里的水多清澈，我的生活多舒适，你们在外面一定没有我这么快活。” Now this is way simpler, right? Now this is now you might be able to understand this by now. So again, with the language player app, now you can choose your own level in your profile, in your user profile. You can choose your level. In this case, I picked HSK 6, HSK 4 for this particular paragraph. And then the system will only label words that are above HSK 4. So if you pick HSK 4, it's going to ignore all the words, but only label the words above HSK 5. Right? So any words that's at HSK 5 or HSK 6 or higher are going to be labeled. So this way you can start reading it, and then if you notice a word that's not labeled yet you don't know, right? If you're, let's say you're not able to pronounce 舒适 over here, right? If you don't know what this word, then you can tap on it and you can get the definition and make sure to learn it because this is the word that you are required to know for HSK 4. Right? So that's a new feature in Language Player. Go check it out. So that's HSK 4. 从前有一只青蛙住在一口深井里. Now that's way easier to comprehend, right? Finally, this is a HSK 2 reading. Now this is really simple. 有一只青蛙，它住在井里。他每天看见一点点天，他说天不大，世界很小。青蛙很高兴，他觉得这里很好。Now, pretty much all of you understand this, right? Maybe 青蛙, you might need help with 青蛙. 青蛙 means frog. 井 means a well, 井里. And that's it. That's all you have to know for this entire paragraph. You only have these two words, right? So this might be the appropriate I+1 for some of you, right? So what is your I+1? Right? What is your level? When I asked ChatGPT to generate this story, it generated this text. And I said, okay, this looks about HSK 4. When I plug this into a language player, it seems like HSK 4 will label like this number of words, and it looks like this is a HSK 4 level text. Then I asked ChatGPT, okay, generate a HSK 6 for me, and it gave me this. And then I said, generate a HSK 7 to 9 for me, and then it gave me this. This sounds very classical now, right? And then I said, okay, give me an HSK 2. Now it's like, okay, 有一只青蛙，它住在井里. This is really simple now, right? So with Language Player and ChatGPT and these AI tools, with technology, you can, even if you have difficult text, you can still say, okay, lower the level to my level. Okay, I'm HSK 4. Can you make it HSK 4, please? And then use Language Player to read it, and then you can expand your vocabulary at the right pace. To recap, so here are the related terms, right? On the left, you have acquisition, and on the right, you have learning. Acquisition is implicit, learning is explicit. Acquisition is procedural. That is, for example, when you play basketball, or when you play tennis, or when you just walk, right, unconsciously, those skills are procedural skills, right? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think, okay, I have to put my left leg forward, and then my right leg forward, and then my left leg forward, right? You don't have to think about how you walk. You just walk, because this kind of skill is already learned. It's already acquired, and it became procedural knowledge. Whereas with learning, you learn declarative things. That is, for example, you learn 苹果 means apple, or 人 means person, right? These are declarative things. These are explicit knowledge, right? These are not subconscious things. But if you're able to just speak Mandarin very fluently, then you're using procedural skills. Acquisition is incidental, subconscious, whereas learning is deliberate and conscious. Acquisition focuses on comprehensible input, whereas learning focuses on memorization and exercises, etc. Acquisition focuses on meaning, and learning focuses on form, right? So with acquisition, when you're reading something, you just want to understand the meaning. Whereas when you're learning, when you're doing textbook exercises, you're thinking, okay, how does this sentence work? Okay, you have to put the subject here, verb here, and so that's focusing on form. Acquisition is focusing on perception, whereas learning is focusing on production, right? When you're in a language class, often the teacher will say, okay, repeat after me, or okay, make a sentence, or okay, can you correct your own sentence, or can you say it again? Okay, now can you do this mock dialogue on stage, right? So when you're learning in a formal situation, they're gonna make you produce language, right? So acquisition focuses on perception, and learning focuses more on production.